is Baker the most hated person in the National Football League? It seems like every week, whether it's the fans booing them or whatever it might be, it seems like people are just starting to pile on this kid.
This is Big Man Bets. It's week 13, and I'm really excited for the start of the show with the Hall of Famer Orlando Pace and the 7-time Pro Bowler on that ballot, Nick Mangold. But guys, your 2 Ohio State Buckeyes. What happened? Michigan just smoking you. Jim Harbaugh is getting love left and right. It's all over for the Buckeyes. What happened?
I'm speechless.
Yeah, I know.
You know what? Going into that game, I was feeling pretty good based on what we did to Michigan State the week prior. Anytime you take a loss to the team up north, it's always the next week is a pretty tough week. But they took it to us. Obviously we didn't play well, but they and I know we're both offensive linemen, Nick and I, and we lost the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball when you watch that game. Their offensive line, played well against our defensive line, and we didn't do well up front on our side either. So it was a tough game to watch our Buckeyes go down.
Yeah, it was really tough because it was my mother-in-law's 75th birthday, so we took the kids and her into the city, went to see the Rockettes. So I shut my phone off at 11 o'clock. I had the game tape. I shut my phone off at 11 o'clock. We went to lunch afterwards, so I didn't get home till like 5. Kept my phone off. I had the do not disturb. Got no information. Turned the game on, and I'm watching it. And the whole time I'm just thinking, all right, it's going to turn. And then it never turned. And it was one of those games where I'm sitting there and I'm like, this can't be happening. And I know when I turn my phone on, I'm going to have the 3 Michigan guys that I chirp the most at. There's going to be a text message sitting there waiting. And sure enough, I turn it on and there's all 3 text messages. So it was nice of us after the 2 years of, difficulty that we've had going through everything with the pandemic and whatnot, doing a little bit of charitable work on the holiday. We were giving, we allowed them to win one, finally after 8 years. And so it was really nice of us. That's how I'm taking it. Like we're the better person here.
Yeah, when you look at it, you see some of the social media, people are crying. That's their second win in 20 years, which is so welcome back to the rivalry. We can get it going again. And, obviously you're once in a decade win to all the Michigan fans out there. So,
I mean, I'm hearing welcome back to the rivalry. You can have this one, but we'll see. Well, maybe you'll get one in 10 years because, every dog has its day. A little blind squirrel finds an acorn type of thing, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Hey, that's the way we're approaching it.
All right, John, let's get into week 13 here. And we're starting with 2 disappointments. One, the Seattle Seahawks, scraping the bottom of the NFC, and then the Rams officially fighting for a playoff spot, the 5 seed. Orlando, we've touched on your Rams, but it just keeps on going down here. 3 losses in a row. We're asking the question this morning, who's more to blame? Is it the quarterback in Matthew Stafford, or perhaps is it Sean McVay? I'm seeing some NFL scouts saying that he's reading his press clippings a little bit too much, and there's a little bit of a shine on the coach who apparently, when you look at it, his teams do not get better historically as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think the tough part about the Rams and their fall in the last 3 weeks is, you can't put the game in Matt Stafford's hands. And I think that's what the coaching staff is doing. He's going out there. He's not feeling comfortable. He's early turnovers in every single game the last 3 weeks. And, you got to run the ball. And that's the issue with the Rams right now. You got to run the ball, and then you have to stop the ball. You got to stop the run. And we're not doing either on each side of the ball. So I think, if we get back to what we do, play action after running the ball, I think that'll have some success. But as you can see over the past 3 weeks, we cannot, rely on Matt Stafford to win the game solely on his shoulders. We still need a running game, and we need to stop the run. He looked like Matt Stafford of Detroit, man. And I thought, just even worse because he's throwing so many bad. There was 2 or 3 interceptions in that game that could have happened that didn't happen, which was tough for us. It was tough to watch. And I know you mentioned the Seahawks. They look like they're a dead team. They're just out there. Their offense looks horrible. Pete Carroll looks like he's about done. Russell Wilson looks like he's done. And they're packing it in for the season. So those are my 2 takes on those 2 teams that's really struggling. I still have a chance to make. I'm hopeful that they can get going, and try to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, when you look at these 2 teams, obviously I think you have to say right now they're both disappointing, but the Seahawks by far are the most disappointing. They are 3-8, and you know who else is 3-8? My Jets. So if you're on the same level and you have Russell Wilson and you've got Pete Carroll and you're supposed to be amazing, you probably shouldn't be 3-8. And so they have their troubles. But when you look at the Rams, and we talk about the dream team, and they were getting together all these pieces and everything, so they were getting crowned Super Bowl champs early on. And so I think for me, I don't think Stafford's gotten worse. I think he's going to continue to be the same player that he is. I think it's more on McVay trying to tamp down these expectations that are coming from the outside. You always hear about guys. Coaches saying, hey, listen, it doesn't matter what happens outside this building. We got to stay focused inside the building. I think they allowed themselves to hear oh, listen, we got Von Miller, we got Odell Beckham. We're getting all these pieces. We're making up this super team. And I think that went to their heads a little bit. And so it's now on McVay to kind of flip that script and be like, hey, listen, we got to get, we can't just go out there with our resume in hand and say, hey, listen, we win this game. Let's go home. We have to go out there and show it. And so it's going to be a big challenge for them, but they have the pieces to do it. It's just whether or not McVay can get them going in the right direction.
And for me, the toughest thing about the Rams is the way they're losing, though, right? Against Tennessee, I felt like they were out physicaled by Tennessee. San Francisco ran the ball whenever they wanted to run the ball physically, and they're not winning good. They're not even playing good football on either side of the line of scrimmage. So very tough to kind of bounce back. I think everybody in that locker room needs to look at themselves and say, hey, we need to turn this thing around as well. So
Nick, are you trading Russell Wilson at the end of the season, taking whatever you can get?
No, because it's so hard to find a quarterback in the league. I think it's got to be a whole team-wide look at the issues. Why are we doing so poorly? The big one too, they gave up those 2 first-round picks for Jamal Adams, who just now eclipsed Vince Wilfork for career interceptions. So they're losing this draft capital for guys that aren't making that big of an impact. If you do end up trading Russell Wilson, you're going for a full tear down, starting over, because it is so hard to find a good quarterback in this league.
Orlando, would you fire Pete? I mean, what do you do going forward if you're Seattle?
I think it's time to let Pete go. He's been there for 10 plus years. It seems like the players, their play calling, it seems like, before Pete Carroll was like a fun, energetic guy, all that energy, just watching that game on Sunday night or Monday night just felt like there was no energy there whatsoever. So I think it's time. I think he's ran his course there in Seattle. Russell doesn't look inspired anymore. I wouldn't trade him personally because you don't have many options out there to go get that's better than what you have in Russell Wilson. So
along those lines, then, let's look at Coach of the Year. A lot of candidates. The ever-present Bill Belichick is certainly a candidate. That would be one. But a bunch of names in there. I think Matt LaFleur deserves a consideration. Cliff Kingsbury. Hey, I mean, you can throw a bunch of names in there. You can even go deep and say John Harbaugh, perhaps. I don't know. Nick, you want to take this one first? Who, if you're voting right now as we go into Week 13, your Coach of the Year?
Right now, that one for me is easy. It's Cliff Kingsbury. The job that he's done with the Cardinals, you look at what they've been able to do, and even still getting wins with Kyler Murray out, that just shows the coaching. and shows that, he's got his hand on the pulse of the team. I was listening to something the other day, and their win total was 8.5, and they've already passed that. So they're moving in the right direction. No one expected them to be as good as they are, and so right now my vote is for Cliff.
Yeah, for me, it's Matt LaFleur, just for everything that they've been through in Green Bay. Really tough year. Just not having Aaron there early in the year, all off season, and then coming in with that type of drama, and then more drama on top of that with the COVID, obviously, and all that stuff, and still be at the top of the NFC. He's done a great job of coaching, eliminating those distractions, and they're right in contention to win the championship. So I think that would be my vote today.
You two are all class. You would never fire anybody. I'm kidding. Maybe you would, but let's fire someone today. Let's get rid of either Matt Nagy, Dan Campbell, Urban, your guy. I don't know who's first on the Joe Judge, first on the firing lines. Orlando, who's getting the pink slip?
Ooh, wow, that's a tough one. I think Matt Nagy is an easy choice because it's been highly speculated that he's going to get fired last week. Obviously, but he's still there. He's not doing a great job there, and I think his time is up in Chicago. So that would be the guy that I would fire today, just because he seems like he's lost control of his offense. I don't know how well he can develop quarterbacks. So I would say he would be the guy I would fire today.
Yeah, I'm right there with Orlando on this one. When there's speculation that you're going to get fired after the Thanksgiving game, and then you don't get fired, and now you're just sitting there waiting. Well, is it going to be after this game? Is it going to be after this game? Like, they're just dangling him along. Like, he's just a dead man walking. And so I think I'm shocked that first it was discussed that he was going to get fired, in a couple of days, and that somehow got leaked out. And then the Bears just need to either do it or don't do it. And it's one of those things where everyone's talking about firing Matt Nagy, and it's just, that's kind of the rolling cycle. And so it's going to happen. You might as well put your foot down now and get rid of him and get that search started early. Like, I don't know what they're waiting on. And so if I were to go, I would tell the Bears, let's go, let's start over. Let's see what we can get.
When a coach is getting bonged, what's that like in a locker room? I mean, what's the biggest challenge for a player?
It's funny. I've never had a known coach getting fired. Like, I've had Eric Mangini got fired after our Brett Favre year. That surprised just about everybody. That was a quick turnaround that he had. Rex, there was always kind of speculation, but then, when we ended up going, I think 8-8, and we were down in Miami, and it basically saved his job. We kind of said, all right, well, if it saved his job for this year, we'll probably be safe for a little bit. So he was also kind of another surprise firing. The marriage with the GM just didn't work out. And then I was gone before Todd Bowles got fired. So I never really had that experience of knowing a coach is getting fired or having a coach get fired in season. But it's got to be stressful, because you understand that these guys have, they've got a family at home. This is their job. And, when there's talk of like, all right, well, he's going to lose his job. While it's obviously not going well for your team, you do kind of feel bad for him personally. So it's got to be just a crazy experience.
Yeah, I agree with Nick on that. Just as a player, my mindset was I still have to go do my job, right, at the highest level, because I don't want to be on that chopping block as well. But you kind of, as a player, you see the writing on the wall. Hey, you're 0-8. You guys have probably won 4 or 5 games each year over the last 3 or 4 years. This guy's going to get canned. He should know that at this point. But to your point, if you have a good relationship with the coach and know his family, see his kids, you kind of feel bad because somebody is losing their job. But on the flip side, I do say they cut people every single day. So I don't feel as bad for head coaches and front office people when they lose their job, because they make that call every single day or a couple times a year to cut players. So I always keep that in the back of my mind as well.
Did you ever experience a guy getting cut and he's just sitting in his locker, maybe a little tears are coming out, there's nothing you can say, but that's, you feel terrible, right?
Yeah. For me, it's like that last week right after that final preseason game, and guys come in and they're getting their workout and they're waiting for guys to, and it's kind of one of those eerie, silent, quiet things. And especially if a guy has kids, a wife and kids, to go home and explain that to their significant others. Hey, I lost my job. You kind of feel bad, but then again, if you're playing in that fourth preseason game, you're probably not gonna make the squad. So it's always a tough one.
Yeah, it's the one, like it's always difficult when you get down to that cut day. We had our own Grim Reaper. He'd be standing by the door of the locker room as you're doing workouts, and if he grabbed you, you were gone. And so like it is always difficult to say, like, listen, I'm sorry you got cut, like, because you don't want to say, like, well, we kind of all saw it coming. Like, you were the 16th offensive lineman on the team. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But it's a cutthroat business, and I think it gets lost, I think, on fans a lot of times. The fact of how much work goes into it, and then you could just be told like, you go through a full offseason, a full training camp, you're grinding out, you're sweating it out, and then at the end of it, they're like, all right, well, this was fun, we'll see you later. And so it's always difficult. It's always difficult when guys get cut during, like, midweek during the season. It's usually a practice squad guy. They need a roster spot or something. So it's crazy, but it's coming. And so you just kind of, like, you put it out of your mind and say, listen, this is just part of the business. It's not personal. They're not doing it, out of spite or anything. But it's still difficult to watch.
Did the Grim Reaper like being the Grim Reaper?
I don't know. I mean, I would hope not, but there probably are a couple of teams that their Grim Reapers like, oh, this is my day. Like, I imagine it's somebody that, who grew up and always loved football, but never really got to play it. Or maybe got cut from, like, the high school team or something like that. And so, this is kind of like their payback. I could see that Grim Reaper enjoying it just a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Feel like that guy's got a smile on his face. All right, let's touch back on college football here. Brian Kelly, the Irish, number 6 in the college football playoff. End of the year. Hey guys, see you later. I'm going to LSU, 10 years, $95 million. It was sweet, but all that I told you how much I love the Irish, I'm walking out the door here. Is there a good way to do this? What's your reaction to Kelly leaving leaving Notre Dame? Seems like a big deal. I don't, and he met with his players reportedly for less than 2 minutes. Hey guys, bye, basically. Orlando, did you have any Notre Dame thoughts here?
It's funny. My first text yesterday to a group chat of guys that I talk football with all the time is college coaches are a joke, right? They preach integrity, all these different things, and then you send your players a text at 1:20 a.m. in the morning telling them you're leaving them. So I was like, man, this is ridiculous. Everybody, it's a money play. Nobody really leaves Notre Dame to go to LSU unless it's for a substantial amount of money. But then I had second thoughts on it because a guy that's in that world, that digital world, said, hey, things are happening real time these days. So when he signed that agreed on that contract, obviously they pushed it out social media everywhere. So he couldn't really do anything. And they weren't going to let him go back to South Bend without announcing it because I'm sure Notre Dame officials would beg him to stay. So in real time, social media, everything that's out there, he put it out there. I thought it could have been handled better, but he's laughing all the way to the bank and probably could care less about those ND kids.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different sides to it, and the fact that it happened so quickly, I think just adds a bad stain to it. But you're talking about the head coach of a football team that potentially could be in the college playoffs, and has just deserted his team. And you gone down to LSU for $1 gajillion, which is fantastic. I mean, I'm all for everyone getting as much money as they can when they can. It's just it is one of those things, like the integrity of college football coaches. They move around so much, and I can't imagine. I saw one report that one of his assistants was on the recruiting trail, had just left the house of a kid and saw the news pop up on his phone, and he's like, well, now I feel like an idiot because I just told this kid how great Notre Dame is and our program, and how Brian Kelly's a great head coach and he's going to love coming to play for us, and he's gone. And he's like, this is, and that just shows how fast it happened. I do feel bad for. I don't feel. I mean, I feel bad for all the kids there because, like, the seniors, they put their full time in with them, and now they're potentially getting into the playoffs, and now that's in question because the committee's come out and said something about we're not sure if you don't have a head coach, can we put you into the playoffs, which I find absolutely ridiculous. And so those guys get it. The freshmen that are there that just came in thought they were looking at coming to guy. I saw they had a stat that he's the winningest coach in Notre Dame history, which blew my mind. It was like, how is Brian Kelly the winningest coach in that storied program? But that that was the stat I saw. And so you have all this promise, and now it's like, all right, well, now I have no idea who our coach is going to be, and here I am stuck at Notre Dame where I actually have to do academic work. It's crazy, and God bless Brian Kelly for getting the money, but I feel like it really could have been handled differently.
Yeah, I think the timing of it was bad. Obviously, if you're still in contention to probably be in the playoffs, what does that say about your team that you have no faith that they could win a national championship, right? If you don't tell LSU, have your agent tell LSU, hey, I'll give you an answer on Sunday for sure. I'm coming. Let's just see if we get in these playoffs and then go from there. Because it could happen. It could be complete chaos at the top and Notre Dame have a chance to get in. And that's a lot to those kids. That means something to those kids to be in the playoff and be able to play on a national stage. And he totally screwed that for them.
Well, their path to get there, Cincinnati's got to lose to Houston, and Iowa has got to beat Michigan. So Michigan's the only chance for the Big Ten to be in the college football playoff. Now I'm going to ask you two Buckeyes. Do you want Michigan to beat Iowa so the Big Ten is represented? Or are we all Hawkeyes this weekend, Nick?
I mean, go Hawkeyes. I love Iowa. It's the greatest state, I think, in the union as of right now. I think, and I actually think they have a good chance at it. I think if Michigan had put so much into the game with Ohio State, there was so much raw emotion that there potentially could be a letdown here in the championship game. I root for. I'll never root for Michigan. While I would like to see the Big Ten represented in the playoffs, if it's going to be Michigan, I'm not going to watch it. So, it's just, I hope Iowa has a day and they get their Big Ten championship.
Under no circumstances do I root for Michigan whatsoever. So I'm going go Hawkeyes. I hope they come out and dominate. I think they did. Obviously, they were so up for the victory. The tears. They felt like they won a real championship last Saturday. So I'm sure they'll have a letdown this week. At least I'm hoping for it. So we'll see. Go Hawkeyes. Go Iowa. For the victory.
Hey, class of '96 right here. IOWA. Got my psychology degree. I never did anything with it, but I love you, Iowa. Thank you very much. It was a great time in Iowa City. All right, hey, back to the NFL. I got two more for you here. We're going to touch parenting in a second, but I want your final four here. If you had to pick it right now going into Week 13, give me your AFC title game and your NFC title game. Right now, we're 2/3 of the way through the season here, Orlando. Who you putting in championship weekend?
In the AFC, I would love to see New England and Kansas City. And I know we've seen that matchup plenty of times, but, obviously those two teams are playing. I think Kansas City is going to start playing really good football here down the stretch. And New England's been playing well. I don't think they get to the Super Bowl, but I do think those two teams are playing best. And then in the NFC, Green Bay, Arizona are two teams that's playing at the top of their game. Now, will they continue to play that way? I don't know, but I do think those two teams will be in the NFC championship game. So those are my 4 teams as of today. It could change, subject to change though. But today, those are my 4 teams.
Yes, always subject to change as we talk in week 13. Just as we were making bold predictions in week 4. Right now, my final 4, I think I would put I would have Green Bay versus the Buccaneers for the NFC. I think I think that the experience of Tom Brady would win out over the Cardinals. And then on the flip side, the AFC, I think as of right now, I'm with Orlando on this. I think Kansas City is starting to they figured out their defense. Patrick Mahomes is going back to not trying to win the game by himself, but using his weapons. And New England is running their game plan that they want to do. They have a strong defense. They're running the ball, and Mac Jones is not making mistakes. So as of right now, week 13, that would be my final 4.
Wow, big man bets, believing in the Pats, big time. That's it. That's interesting. All right, I know it's painful. It's painful for me, and I didn't compete against him in the NFL. Okay, all right. We want to end up before we get our picks today. We want to talk parenting, and you both are parents, and you both have watched your kids play games. I mean, the reason we're bringing it up. Kareem Hunt's dad, the latest NFL parent to go on, he did it on Facebook, talking about how Baker Mayfield can't play football. That's, of course, after Odell Beckham's dad went on Instagram, did videos showing what Baker's doing wrong. I first off, what's your reaction in the locker room if a parent of a player is going at the quarterback? I mean, that just is completely and utterly crazy, but maybe you just brush it off. I don't know. I mean, Nick, would this resonate throughout the locker room?
Yeah, it would definitely cause a little rift there because, no one's immune to what's going on. Like if you see Odell being wide open and not getting targeted by Baker, like the guys are watching the film too, so they see it. And so it's kind of known, but when it's somebody outside the building that's related to another player in there, like that kind of digs that needle in there just a little bit more. It's like, all right, listen, I know I'm not playing up to my standards. I don't need to hear it from your pops. So I think it is. I mean, it's divisive, and that's the only way I can put it.
Yeah, I think especially, I know we talk about parenting. We all have young kids, but when they're in the National Football League making millions of dollars and a team doesn't play well or whatever it might be, I think it's best just to be quiet because you don't want to create, to Nick's point, divisiveness in the locker room just by saying, hey man, what's your dad saying? And Kareem Hunt just came back. So he doesn't really have a leg to stand on. He just got back healthy and in the lineup. And then, obviously I don't know if he's trying to pull an Odell, trying to get him out of Cleveland, because that's what his father's intentions really was, just to get him out of Cleveland to another team. But obviously, that doesn't help win more ball games. That only hurts. So I don't know what's going on. Is Baker the most hated person in the National Football League? It seems like every week, whether it's the fans booing them or whatever it might be, it seems like people are just starting to pile on this kid.
Kareem Hunt's dad, senior, his comments are the exact pile-on. I'm stating facts on football, what we see. He's limping. He's scared to throw the ball, and they know he's hurt. If people don't like what I'm saying, unfriendly, I'm not jeopardizing nothing. I've got a right to speak. I ain't posting no videos. Basically saying that he's not Odell's dad. Have a good day. Go Browns, hopefully.
Oh, okay. But you know what? Some people are celebrated for that. The weirdest thing, this is why I know people don't like Baker, because some guys, if Tom Brady goes out there and his shoulder's banged up or his leg or he's limping, and they'll be like, oh, he's a warrior. This guy, they're piling on saying, what is he doing? Obviously, the kid's hurt, so there's not a lot he could do, but he's just out there trying to win ball games for his team. So I'm not going to come to Baker's defense, but, it is a bit much for a parent to say something.
Yeah, and then I think you look at it like when, I think I've said that exact same quote. And, if he is injured, he probably shouldn't be out there and, he's got to play better. But that's me. I'm removed from the situation and I have no no skin in the game whatsoever with that team. When it's a father of, someone that's on that team, I think it hits home a lot more. Like that's, that you just don't do that. I think, especially as a parent in the NFL, it's not your job to tear down other people. Your job is to stay quiet, sit back, enjoy going to the games, and seeing your team afterwards and being like, or your family afterwards and saying, hey, listen, you played a great game. Sucks you lost. Like, let's go have a beer or something. Like the idea of, someone coming out and saying something. Like, I can't imagine even in, my son is in 5th grade, so his football team. I can't imagine, going on to the little team, whatever, the little app that, all the parents have so they know the schedule and everything, and being like, hey, listen, little Johnny really wasn't up to snuff today. He's got to be able to get the ball out quicker. Like it just, it's so absurd. I don't understand why a parent would even think that it's their job to comment.
What grade do you guys give yourselves? And actually just give a little breakdown of how you are watching your kids. I mean, are you last row? I mean, you high profile parents, that's NFL guys right there. So you kind of are, I suppose, parent leaders out there as well. Or Orlando, I'm guessing you're you're in the back row and you're quiet, but maybe not.
No, I am. I feel like I am the guy that tries to stay away from, mainly because I don't want to talk to other parents sometimes. I just want to watch the game. But I'm not one of those guys that yell at the ref. I'll leave all those duties up to my wife. She's yelling, she's chirping, and I got to calm her down at times. But that's about it. I'm not one of those guys. I don't want to be on somebody's social media page talking about, look at Orlando Pace cussing out a ref or going crazy about a youth football game or something like that. So I try to be calm. I might go up to the refs after the game and try to explain, see why they make that call, because they all want to be cool with me prior to the game. Hey, Orlando. And then I got to, after the game, let's recap some of the calls you made out there. So,
Turn it back around on them. I like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm sitting top row just so I can see everything better. And I'm cheering, I try to stay positive as much as I can. I will yell every once in a while if a ref does something really terrible. And it's just, that's one of the things, but I'm there to cheer, and I'm there to cheer for not only my kid, but the other kids that are on his team. We're still only in 5th grade. And so it's still, they're still young. You still get to see the joy of the game in their eyes, the fun that they have in it. And so it's neat. This is my first time being in the stands. For the past couple of years, I've been helping out coaching. But I was told that my help was unnecessary. So I was in the stands. It was kind of weird not having a hand in the game and just being a spectator. But it was a lot of fun. My little guy in his last game of the season got an interception, which I was super excited about. So he obviously didn't get my hands. And so it was neat. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of pride in watching your kids play.
Yeah. To your coaching point, man, when I coached my kids at that age, and I felt like I was doing everybody a disservice because I was laser focused on him and what he was doing. And that's all I could watch to make sure he was either doing something right or if he did something wrong. It kind of ruined my day a little bit. So I had to get out of the youth coaching profession because there were some long, quiet rides home that either one of us didn't enjoy.
We had I enjoyed it because it was neat. It was it was right after they just started playing tackle, so I did 2nd and 3rd grade, and then 4th grade was the Rona year, so I don't count that. But like seeing 3rd grade when they first got to that was their first time tackling and everything, and seeing the joy on their faces and the fun and the excitement after going through 11 years in the NFL and seeing the business side and seeing people grumping about being in work at 6 a.m. on Wednesday. Seeing these kids out there just having fun with their friends and playing the game that I still love was pretty neat. And so it was fun, kind of getting to interact with them and being able to see it again through kids' eyes, which made me, I think, enjoy it even more.
I love the joy of youth football coming out here. Gentlemen, let's move on from parenting to our picks. Let's make some money here and go to WinBet. wynnbet.com for all your betting needs. wynnbet.com. Last week, Orlando 1-2. You did nail the over on the Rams and the Packers. That came in big time with 64. It was at 48. And Nick, 2-1. Yeah, the Bucks over the Colts. Nice work. And you got your Jets, who I almost played day of and didn't do it, but a touchdown winner for the New York Jets. So coming into today, Orlando 16-18, Nick 20-14. Week 13, Orlando, you got to get hot. Nick, you're starting off your pick of the week. Again, wynnbet.com for all your picks. What do we got pick of the week?
Remember, you heard it here first. New York Jets won the Texans game. I was real proud of that one. Pick of the week this week. I have the Bengals -3 over the LA Chargers. It's a 1 p.m. game at Cincinnati. West Coast teams hate going East Coast, especially when you have LA team coming to cold weather. Bengals don't even have a dome, so they just live in the cold weather. I think they'll take this one.
Yeah, my pick of the week, I got the Baltimore Ravens or -3.5 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think TJ Watt may be in protocol. Big Ben did well last week at all. Didn't play well last week at all. And then the Ravens played really good with Lamar Jackson. So I look for those guys to win in a rout.
Baltimore needs it bad. There's no doubt about it. All right, let's go upset. Nick, Orlando, you're up first. I'm sorry.
My upset is I'm going with the Houston Texans +9 over the Indianapolis Colts. Indy's been playing well, but it's a divisional game. They know each other well. I think it'll be much tighter than the spread indicates. So I'm going with the upset of the Houston Texans over the Indianapolis Colts.
Interesting. I like it.
9 points, man. 9 points.
9 points is a lot of points. It's a lot of points. All right. For my upset of the week, I'm looking at the Washington football team. That defense is starting to come around, and they are playing the Raiders at the Raiders, which I think will be a home game for the Washington football team. Everyone seems to be traveling to Las Vegas to watch their teams, and the Raiders are in a tailspin. They're going down fast. They just haven't been able to overcome all the stuff that's happened off the field. So I got Washington football team +2.5 over the Raiders.
Washington's been playing great. The Raiders somehow sneaking out a win on Thanksgiving, but that partly was on the Cowboys. All right, over-unders. Nick, you're up.
All right, past 2 weeks I've gone under and lost both of them, so I'm done with that. I am taking, looking at the Tampa Bucks versus the Falcons. The line is set at 50.5. I'm taking the over. I think it'll be in the dome of the Falcons. Tom will be able to sling it without having to worry about the elements. The Falcons are sneaky, average, can score some points. So I think the points are going to be flowing down there in the ATL.
Yep. I'm going to stick with the Ravens-Steelers game, under 44. I think it'll be a defensive battle. I think both teams, they know each other well. They're really physical. They'll try to run the ball. So I think it'll be a low-scoring game. So I'm going with the under 44 on that game.
All right, gentlemen, week 13. Thank you for speaking so honestly about the loss to Michigan. And you're both moving forward and ready for the next 10 years of Buckeye domination. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And I root for neither of them. But Ohio State gets you're above Michigan for me. So congrats, I guess, you don't need congratulations from me. Great show. Week 13. We're 2/3 of the way through. And thank you to all for watching Big Man Bets. Go to wynnbet.com for all your betting needs. Orlando and Nick, we will see you next week.